supermarkets sort of emerged as a phenomenon after World War II. So the way I frame it is there's pre-World War II, there's post-World War II, pre-COVID, you know, and then there's post the whole COVID thing. And that World War II and COVID are kind of both very disruptive moments within societal, you know, structures and so on. Pre-World War II, the dominant shopping paradigm was you would go to your local grocer and you would buy everything over the counter. Like you grew up, most of the food you grew at home. You had chickens. Everyone had chickens and you know, a veggie garden and so forth. But the things that you didn't produce at home, you know, your cheeses and your milks and a lot of your meats and, you know, whatever grains and so on, you just go to the local grocer, give them a shopping list. They go out the back, they put it all into a thing for you, and then and home you go. Post World War II was also, you know, the Green Revolution, right, where we started to see just masses of food being produced, and alongside that came this idea of if we can capture like most of the people within a community to have, you know, to get all their shopping within a region rather than just a local high street. And we can put everything in one place and we can get them to do the work of picking it off the shelves and putting it in a thing and so forth. Two things. One is we can buy in much larger quantities, which now there are mass-produced food going on, so we can get the economies of scale. And two, we can effectively externalize our packing costs, right? Which means the food can be cheaper, which means we'll attract more people and this flywheel effect will occur. And the idea was price, convenience, and awareness were the three pillars, right? We got to get the price down to cheaper than ever. We've got to get convenience up, and we've got to make everyone aware of it. And so the price they got through economies of scale, and cutting back a lot of the handling costs. The convenience they got through putting everything in one place, right? So you know, as a shopper, you can just get way more than, you know, you can get everything from one place rather than have to go from place to place, the local baker and then the butcher and this and that. And the awareness was about, we put this big honking building right in the middle of town, which no one can miss it, right? So everyone's going to know about it and everyone's going to talk about it, and you know, it's like a white elephant. And so that's how that became the dominant model. And over the decades, it has just claimed more and more market share. And all the small scale and high street shops have just slowly, we've seen it. I mean, we've seen it in our own lifetimes, right? Yep. The decimation of small scale businesses to the point now where you can really only exist as a small scale business if you offer a boutique sort of premium offering, right? Which is for the people who've got the means to have that, you know, that experience. But with the whole advent of COVID, what I believe that did is it's now shifted from the supermarket being the dominant shopping paradigm to online being the dominant shopping paradigm, because people who never would want to shop for their food online were forced to shop for their food online, and then they realized, oh, that wasn't too bad. You know, it wasn't as, you know, I always felt like I wanted to touch and feel the food that I was going to put in my trolley, and but they realized that it actually worked okay. And they also realized that a lot of the supermarkets were, you know, failing in making sure that they could actually get the food to the people. So a lot of people who started looking at alternative places to get their food, and it forced them to think about other ways of buying their food. Like in the UK, we saw, you know, CSAs and veg box schemes and food hubs, they went 3 to 4 times their usual volume in sales when, you know, at that time. And the sales haven't dropped back down to where they were before. They've dropped down to like still more than double what they were before. So we're now, I think where we are now is that we're at the beginning of the new paradigm, and that over the next 10 years or so, 10 to 20 years, could be sooner, I don't know for sure, but it'll be different in different places. but that more and more people are now starting to realize, oh, I'm just going to shop from my phone. But the great thing about that is before supermarkets controlled the real estate, they owned the car parks, so they owned the building in the center of town, and that was a barrier to entry. Right? That was their moat, no one else could have that real estate. But now the real estate is your 13 square inches in your pocket, and we small scale producer has the same access to that real estate as the supermarket does. It's just a website, and so it means that it's leveled the playing field. And it also means that people are now getting the same level of convenience that they would at a supermarket. And because the supply chain is so much shorter and more simple, and the growers actually owning, controlling their own supply chain, is very price competitive. Right? So price and convenience are now the two pillars that I believe have now trumped the supermarkets. The last remaining thing is awareness, right? And and awareness comes with there needs to be enough of these small scale food hubs, largely farm based small scale food hubs out there to be able to provide access to the bulk of the market. And there needs to be enough of a noise and enough of awareness driven for people to go, oh, that's actually a better option. I'll get better value for money. I'll get more nutritious food. I'll feel like I'm contributing to a solution, and I'm not sacrificing anything for it, right? I still get it delivered to my door or whatever. So I think, the fundamentals are there now for supermarkets to be on the decline and centralized food to start be on the decline, and decentralized online food to start to pick up become the dominant paradigm.
It's
it's so interesting, honestly, when I think about it.
Because Chris and I, we talk about that a lot.
Right.
But we focus on saying that this is the problem. It's highly centralized, but it's pretty rare that we really talk about a solution that's really out, except for the farms, multiplying the number of farms.
Well,
But, in our network, and even last night, I don't know if Moderen told you this, but for us at this point, it's like, it's easy to produce. Producing is not the issue. Like, we're good at that, and we can show it to many people, and the work that we do at the Institute is that. But making sure that everyone can sell what they grow is, and then they're competing. We're competing against supermarkets, but then you have
price and convenience.
You have Ooooby that's there, and Ooooby probably, and there's others that are thinking about these things, and it's. So
it reminds me of Co-op Terroir Solidaire here. Like, we actually had a co-op here that was doing what Ooooby offers, but they actually are on pause for the moment because it was too much to handle for some of the people. But now I'm wondering, like, maybe if they use Ooooby, there's another potential here to bring that back. It was cool. Like, I used it at my home. You could go on their website and buy different meats from different farms and cheeses and get everything in a delivery. So literally, they were the food hub. But
well, the thing is, the food hub model works. It's just very labor intensive if you don't have ways of automating the administrative side of it. It's the information part that's very labor intensive, and it's getting order accuracy and collating that into the right information, getting into the right hands at the right time, and that is actually It all depends on what food hub you're talking about and the actual circumstances with each one. But an example is, Louise, who used to work with Ashurst Organics in the UK. She used to do 4 days a week admin work, and then when they moved on to Ooooby, it went down to 4 hours. So it's a massive saving.
Yeah.
And the customer experience went up because now the customers could do their shopping really intuitively on their phone. So it doesn't take much to get it from, it doesn't really work, to, now it's working. And once it's working, then it can happen over and over again,
Yeah, and I also wanted to note, the part that stood out in your whole story was the awareness part of supermarkets, like how it's this huge gargantuan building in the middle of town. And it's kind of obvious why that would have worked from an awareness perspective. and how hard it can be for a small farm or a software, an online platform to have that, because it isn't a building in the middle of town. No. So it's like a whole other, especially for the small farm, like, all we have these days, we're all on our Instagrams and TikToks, and like and word of mouth.
Yeah.
In small towns, especially.
You can go so far on your own building awareness to your local audience using, Instagram and things like that, or even, posters on bulletin boards and letterbox drops and things like that. But I think what we've experienced is that you really only connect with that small niche of people who are already thinking along those lines. Most of the people who aren't thinking or aren't aware of the bigger considerations, they're just blind to it. They'll see the thing in their letterbox and they'll chuck it in the bin before they've even looked at it, really. I think one of the things that there's a real opportunity for is how can you combine all the stories and all the voices of all this movement of, hundreds and thousands of small-scale independent food producers into like a chorus, into something that is a real story that will cut through, that will get to that next tier, that next level of customers. And I think that's not something we started solving yet. Like right now, we're really focused on just building the digital infrastructure to help these people go from not being able to sell direct to being able to sell direct and make it a profitable enterprise. But the next stage is, how do we help them to grow and to really start to make a really decent living? And I think that's going to come down to what can we do to help tell the story of the movement, and how can we show, hey, look, there's hundreds of these people, in places around the country and around the world. This is a real story. This is a really interesting thing that's happening. And then you'll get picked up by interest, like media and places like that. Mm-hmm. That's the awareness piece that we need. That's what is really needed more than anything else. But if you try to do the awareness before you solve the fulfillment problem, it's only going to fail.
Yeah.
Right? You have to solve fulfillment before you solve awareness.